Welcome back. Now let's head over to Lauren Lee and our very special guest, Scott Kendricks, Oxford High's head track coach, for some insight into the ups and downs of high school track.
Thanks, Collins. I'm here today with the head coach of Oxford High School track team, and that is Mr. Scott Kendricks. Hi, Mr. Scott Kendricks. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Coach Kendricks, so can you tell me a little bit about your track team?
Well, we like to think that we have a really good program at Oxford High School, and I think as we've done in several years past, we're probably one of the favorite teams to win the state championship again this year.
So I know you guys are just about ready to start your season. So what have you been doing to prepare for this year? I know you guys especially have won in the past a few state championships.
Well, we practice track every day. I mean, starting in August all the way through to the end of school, we're blessed to have a 7th hour. So some of our most dedicated athletes work with me every day. And we do get some other special athletes from other sports, like Rachel Williams, who I'm sure you were talking about. Right. We don't always get somebody that talented, but it's nice when you do, because it makes it a lot easier on the coach. But normally we try to do really well with just those average kids working really hard. And it's just very rare that you get a kid like Horatio in your program.
Well, that's great. So these star athletes, do you think, especially in the other sports that they play, are they just as talented in running track?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I had to turn in my roster to the athletic director recently, and every single boy on our boys track team is a multi-sport athlete. Most of them are in 2 or 3 different sports, so this would be like their 3rd different team to be on this year. They're just very good all-around athletes.
Wow. And so I know you've run state, is it the past 4 years, right?
Well, 4 out of the last 6.
That's great.
So our nemesis, Pearl High School, won in 04 and 05, but the other years we've won.
And about this year, so do you think you guys have a great chance of pulling that off this year?
Well, I do, and I think our team, the athletes that are on our team, they have that expectation of themselves, because several of them have 2 rings already, and you know, they don't want to give our arch rival a victory if they don't have to. So when we start the season, their intention is to try to win. And that's just something that builds upon itself year after year.
So how long have you coached at Oxford High School?
I began coaching in 1998 as assistant track coach to a fellow who also ran track at Ole Miss named Charles Gadd, and then he moved and I was promoted to the head coaching position. And we struggled for a few years because we didn't have a track. And without a track, it's difficult to have a great track team. So in 2002, we built a really nice track, and we also won the state championship that year and the following year. So I felt like we were always ready. We just didn't have the tools that we needed. And then when we got them, I think we were really ready.
Wow. So I've heard that, I know, unlike a lot of other high schools who have multiple coaches, such as like 5, I know your rival, I think, has 5 coaches. Mm-hmm. What do you guys do different, especially since it's you and then you have 1 assistant coach?
Right. Well, I'm lucky. This year I do have an assistant coach. In many years I don't. I coach 70 kids by myself. And you just have to, learn a lot about track, and you have to learn how to organize your time so that you can work with all these different kids. There are 17 different events in a track meet. And in order to be successful, you have to have 2 athletes that can perform every event. And so we divide our time up. I have an assistant this year, and we practice boys and girls at 2:30 to 3:30, and then we have a separate team that comes in 3:30 to 5 after that. So we really have 2 complete practices every day.
And what do your practices consist of?
Early in the season, we try to teach every kid on our roster as many events as we can. A lot of schools, they'll pick a kid, oh, you can jump, you'll be a high jumper, or you can run long distance, we'll put you in that. But I feel like track has a lot to offer, so we try to let every kid do everything, and it's more fun. The kids will come to track practice every day if you do fun stuff. If they know they're going to come do the same thing, a lot of times, you know, it's not that attractive to them. So we let every kid try everything. Even our I have a 90-pound girl that's a distance runner, and we let her throw the shot put someday. You know, it's just let them all high jump, let them all run the hurdles. And eventually, these little diamonds in the rough, they rise up from the group, and you go, oh, here's my hurdler, or here's my long jumper, or here's my pole vaulter, you know. just by watching them over time, you can identify what they can do.
Wow. And so not only do you coach track, but you also ran track. So what made you want to start out your track career and then keep going and coach? Did you have a great passion, it seems?
It's funny because in high school, I loved basketball. I really did. And my desire was to play basketball for the Ole Miss Rebels. And in a high school basketball game, I blew my knee out. And in my rehab, I began doing a lot of running, and I ran track, and I was winning. And I just kind of stayed in track because I was doing more winning. Our basketball team wasn't that good, but in track I could be successful. And then Coach Walker, who's still here at Ole Miss, recruited me, and I was a walk-on. I wasn't a star, believe me. And I came and ran for Coach Walker. And I think being on the Ole Miss team, being a walk-on, you know, Coach Walker treated me and everybody else just like we were full scholarship, you know, and it just such a great experience that when I left the Marine Corps after 10 years, I just thought I really want to be a high school coach.
That is great. And now that you're a coach, I know you have boys and they're into track as well. Have you given them any advice to follow in your footsteps?
Well, it's funny. People ask me that because they think, well, he's a coach. His sons, surely he wants them to be on a track scholarship, and they love soccer as well. But they're very good students, and I hope that if they get any scholarship, it's academic, and they have very good grades. And so they have straight A's, and then we spend probably more time than other kids working on sports just because that's what we love. And when they were 9 years old, you know, we started running together in the morning, and from there they just have become good little athletes. They're ninth graders now, and they have a little sister who's 8 and have a little boy who's 3 also.
You think they're going to do track as well?
They better. They better. If they're going to hang out with their dad, they're going to have to do track, you know. So that's one thing that I love about what I do. If you can get paid to do what you love, well, you've succeeded. And I love coaching, I love teaching, and I get to spend time with my kids every day. So, you know, it's just a big plus for me every day to go to work. I've never missed a day of coaching in 10 years.
That's
and
great.
So, and I would do it for free, but they pay me. So, you know, it's just a wonderful thing. Especially my wife loves that part. You know, we get paid to do it.
That's great. So she's really supportive, especially with sons.
She's our announcer at our track meets.
Wow. So it's a family affair, everybody.
Right. And my daughter she's 8, and she comes to track practice in the afternoons just because it's fun, and she loves to run and jump and stuff.
Well, that is wonderful. So let's see, if you had one bit of advice for your sons as they continue, especially you're the coach and then you're the dad, how do you separate the two, and how do you give them advice without them thinking, Dad, let me do it?
We're so close, honestly, because I left the Marine Corps. One of the reasons I left the Marine Corps, I was a test pilot. It was very dangerous, and when the twins were born, I said, I'm going to leave this behind and spend time with my kids, and so we're real close. And they take my advice. They just take it.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kendricks, for being here. We really appreciate it. And once again, we'll be back next week with another interview, and I'm going to throw it back to Collins.
That's our show for this week. We'll see you again next week when we'll tell you the inspiring story of a local baseball coach who became a hero to his team off the field, along with other great stories and interviews. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget, you can see all these stories and more on our website, highschoolovertime.com. For Overtime, I'm Collins Stewart. See you next week.